Hey guys, this is bringing you another video. Now, welcome to another patch note breakdown. So this is for 14.8, and this is the official patch of MSI. And it kind of leads into a conversation that we may have during this patch note of should pro play be the same patch that we play on, as some of the changes that you may be seeing in this patch don't really make sense for solo queue. So we'll get into it. Let me know what you think about that straight away. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So straight away, it's a decently sized patch. I think there's a lot of like small buffs here more than anything else. But you've got nerfs to Azir, obviously pro-centric, Briar, pro-centric, Zac, pro, and I would say solo queue, and Zeri, definitely pro-centric. And then you got buffs to Akali, who is probably fine in solo queue, so it's a bit weird. Draven, who is fine in solo queue. Galio, who's had some changes here or there. Graves, Hwei, obviously very crazy skill-based champion. They may want people to play Hwei in MSI because it looks insane. The skill shots are mad, so you can kind of get why they want that. Jarvan, always a good pro play jungler because it combines very well in combos, so I'm not surprised that's getting buffed. Jhin, okay. Kai'Sa, LeBlanc, Olaf, Ryze, pro play kind of centric mid laner, hyperscaler, never that good for solo queue. Sylas again, I think he's completely fine right now. I'd actually be interested to know, as weird as it sounds, I'm actually going to look it up as we record this. What are Sylas's stats? Because right now, see, here's the crazy thing. Are you ready for this? So this is pre-patch. Sylas is getting a buff. He is on u.gg, which is kind of determined as kind of maybe the most accurate in terms of data. They put him at S tier, so the highest tier you can be for a champion. His win rate is 50.35, so a positive win rate. His pick rate is 7.5, not very low. His ban rate is 7.9. People ban him because he's strong and he's getting a buff. It makes no sense. And that's what it kind of, I mean, is why would, and some people say, why would they then buff him for MSI if he's already good? To force him being played. It's that simple. They want Sylas to be played. That's the only explanation. He's already strong, and they're now just going to make him really strong. So look out for Sylas this upcoming patch on solo queue ladder. Thresh also, very cool support, very well designed. Good to see him pro play. Adjustments to Mordekaiser and Skada. System changes to Baron and Void Grubs. And then some Blood Moon skins that are coming out. So we'll see how it goes. Already a little bit weird, but yeah. So Vanguard, a quick update on that. And I'll be honest, just before I recorded this, I clicked on my League client. I had a big pop-up, and some of you may have had that saying my system and everything is good to go with Vanguard. So yeah, you'll start seeing that more. Obviously, you know, if your pop-up comes up and says, hey, you're not ready, then I guess you've got at least, so this is 14.8. I think they're going global with Vanguard in 14.9. So you have 2 weeks in essence to fix it. So beginning with this patch, even though I've kind of already had the pop-up, so it does mean it's kind of there and waiting. There was a report, by the way, and I don't know if many people saw this, and you know, we are trusting someone on the internet. He was in America playing a solo queue or a game on not PBE apparently, and they went in game and there was a pop-up saying a cheat has been detected, the game's being dismissed, and that shouldn't happen because Vanguard shouldn't be in the game yet. So I don't know what was going on there. Either he was on the PBE or he made it up, or Vanguard is actually in the game. I'll be honest, in some ways I wouldn't be surprised if Vanguard to a certain extent is already in, but not supposed to be acting on things. Why? It's learning. It's learning what the cheats are going on. It's learning what's kind of happening. And, you know, Riot's been very open when it's happening, which is rare for an anti-cheat. It's really rare that a game company would go, hey, this specific date and time, that's when the anti-cheat's going live. So all the cheaters go, right, I'm going to stop cheating then, but I'll cheat now. It doesn't make sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of there a bit. But yeah, what they're saying is for the rest of the... So it's, by the way, going on the Philippines server, this patch, basically as a test, you know, and this is where people sometimes are like, oh, I'm worried it's going to brick my PC, or, you know, there were reports when Vanguard was brand new with Valorant, oh, it bricked people's keyboards. There was a reason for that. Cheaters were trying to load cheats through keyboard driver software, so that's why it was doing it. So the Vanguard detected a cheat in the driver of a keyboard, so it like banned that kind of driver, you can understand why it happened, but that's how desperate cheaters are. They were loading a cheat through a driver on a keyboard, for God's sake. So yeah. If you are obviously Windows 11, you will have to enable TPM 2.0. I'm not Windows 11. You don't have to be running Windows 11. And if you're running Windows 10, you don't have to upgrade. And Windows 10 doesn't have TPM 2.0. So don't worry about it. So yeah, there's that. It's worth knowing. So we highly encourage you to resolve any of those issues quickly when we turn on the enforcement. So they're saying, hey, try to do something about it. But you'll be able to continue playing Teamfight Tactics, PC, and or League of Legends. But at the, basically, if you fail the thing right now saying, hey, you're not ready, you can still play this patch, obviously. But then at this time, we're planning on turning on Vanguard for all regions except China, because obviously they have their own anti-cheat that's not Vanguard. Starting with patch 14.9 next patch. If anything changes, we'll keep, up to date. But there's that. So I've made a big video about Vanguard. I think it's been blown out of proportions, and there are so many misinformed people online. It's unreal. There's so much fear-mongering going on, and there's a genuine, conspiracy of the people that don't really care about it, that the fear-mongering must be from a cheating community, because they're the only players that really will panic about this. And you've had all people really not understanding level of data access and all that stuff. The fact that you've installed League already, Riot could have all your data if they wanted. You've installed a piece of software by Riot. If that doesn't give you their trust, it doesn't matter. It's kernel based. I even had people in the comments of my Vanguard recent video saying, I'm going to go learn Dota 2. What? The VAC, the anti-cheat that Valve has had, is kernel based since 2002. People really don't understand. Battle Eye is kernel based. Most of if you've heard of an anti-cheat, it's very likely it's kernel based. They have to be, and that's what people don't understand. The cheaters will go anywhere to cheat. They will hide anything they can, and if an anti-cheat doesn't have access to search somewhere for cheats, they're going to put them there. And if all the data in that video that up to 15% of master games were infected by cheaters, it's a big problem. And it should wipe out the bot epidemic. And obviously, by the way, it will take a while for that to happen, because obviously with the news of all this, I'm sure these bot farms have been going absolutely blitzing them mad. So they probably have hundreds of thousands of accounts to sell still. But again, like Riot said, they will dry out. If they can't bot more, it will stop it. So what I will say, as just a preventative to yourself, if they cannot do bot farms anymore, what they'll be going for is existing League accounts. So please secure your League account. Never have, when you log into the client, your username, that should never be the same as your summoner name, for example. It should be different. That's a really obvious one. Obviously, have a hard to guess password that someone can't brute force it, or if they know you personally, they can't guess it. And then also put two-step authentication on both the League account and the email it's attached to. Also, don't attach it to a phone number. Put it on the mobile app of authentication codes. There's been cases before that phone numbers have been compromised where the actual app is a bit more bulletproof. So yeah, that's my advice anyway. Let's get into the champion buff. So very quickly, Akali is getting a 300 base health increase. So we checked out Silas. I'm actually interested to see Akali as well. So Silas is an S-tier champion, over 50% win rate. Akali, okay, so this one could be more warranted. U.GG, and it depends if you trust them or not. But again, tier lists and all that, I don't really fully get. But they put her at a D tier, which obviously is not very good. Her win rate is 48.98%. So it is negative. But in the grand scheme of things, that's mean in every 100 games, she's losing 51 games, winning 49. It's a 2-game swing. It puts in perspective, it's not that big of a deal. So not a big, very deal is a small buff. And that's fine. So 30 health will help her in lane phase. She's a melee champion. In lane phase is going to be where she's at most risk. So I am kind of okay with that buff. That's fine. Azir. So base health regen decrease, W damage decrease. So Azir obviously is always a pro-centric champion. There was the kind of the 3 horsemen of balance that years ago Riot basically admitted, and hilariously all 3 of them appear in this patch. Azir, Ryze, and Kalista. All 3 of those, Riot basically said at one time, we don't know how to balance them. We're going to leave them in a weakened state. Because basically, these three champions excel in pro play, where players are very good. They excel obviously in challenger and apex tiers of rank because the players are very good, but they suck practically everywhere else. But because they suck everywhere else, which is the vast majority of the community, there's a really weird depiction about them. That you could have Callista with a 45% win rate. And again, the most famous, I should just say, example is Azir. Azir got nerfed at a 44% win rate. One of the worst win rates that we've ever seen on a popular champion. He had a 44% win rate and he got nerfed, not buffed. Right now, if we actually had to look at Azir, his win rate is 47% and he's getting nerfed. And you're like, what? That makes no sense. No, it does. Some champions should be living on a negative win rate. The harder to play champions should have negative win rates, because when you're really good at these champions, they excel. And if they have a neutral win rate and they're a very hard to play, high skill, high reward champion, imagine how good they are when a player knows what they're doing perfectly on them, like a pro or a challenger player. It's not balanced. So that is the weird, and as I've always said, it's why win rate is not the biggest factor when it comes to balance, because this type of thing with Azir, you know, his biggest nerf was at a 44% win rate. He's getting nerfed again at a 47% win rate. It's the indication it's not about win rate, it's about how the champion actually fits into the game as a whole. And this is kind of an example that Riot is doing less of it, that they try to balance the game as a entire jigsaw, if you will. But years ago, Riot purely did a pyramid balance system that they balanced from top down. This is an example of a patch, and Riot basically do 2 specific patches a year that are top-down balance, and that is MSI and Worlds. Those are the 2 patches a year that they will actually go back to doing top-down, because everything in this patch is for pro play, literally. So they want pro play to be where it's at. So Azir players right now, he's strong, clearly, but they will be like, dude, my champion's getting nerfed again. It's because they don't want him to be the only mid laner in MSI. So base health regen going down, W damage decrease, and just reminding everybody, Azir's current build right now is going Resolve, Grasp of the Undying as his primary rune, which is insane. So that hopefully less health regen will kind of make him less tanky as well. And because obviously he does sometimes drift into some more tankier builds, the fact that his W in terms of damage is going to get nerfed, it will make him less oppressive, especially if he's not building damage. So it's kind of forcing Azir to hopefully, no, you need to build damage. You're a damage dealer. You can't get 1 or 2 tank items. So that's good. I like the change. Briar, health growth decreased, Q range increased, and W bonus attack speed decreased. Wow, they are big nerfs. So base health for Briar is going from 100 to 95, so should be squishier. Q, the range of it is going up, so it's more forgiving, and obviously she can also jump to wards now as well. And the Blood Frenzy bonus attack speed is once again going down overall. Technically a 1% buff at rank 1, but then straight away at rank 2 it's a nerf, and then upward of a 15% attack speed nerf at rank 5. And again, just to go over the stats, because maybe I should include this type of thing. Let me know if you like this, by the way, of me kind of going what the champion's strength is and win rate is right now, because I know some people are interested. She is defined as an S+ tier champion, and she has nearly a 52% win rate. So clearly does need a nerf, and that's the kind of stats that I'm even survived, you know, surprised, I should say. She's getting a compensation buff. But the where it could be, so obviously she's got 2 builds right now. She's got obviously the Eclipse, Sundered Sky, Bruiser build. Her lethality build, although a lot less games, is doing a lot better right now. So again, her Bruiser build, which runs PTA and runs Bruiser, Eclipse, Sundered Sky, Sterix Gauge, Black Cleaver, is running nearly actually a 53% win rate in 33,000 games. And this, by the way, is in Emerald Plus rank, so higher tier of games onto the average player. Hilariously, with only 243 games recorded, her pure lethality build of going Profane Hydra into Collector, Edge of Night, Hubris, etc., is running 64% win rate, 63.8 precisely. But yeah, honestly, with a health decrease and attack speed decrease, I'd be more inclined to go back to the lethality with Hail of Blades because it will make up for the attack speed loss. So I'll just say that might bring lethality back. Draven. So Draven, Q damage increase. That's good for Draven, obviously. It's his kind of bread and butter. So it's just a 5 damage buff per Q. Again, a lot of people may say that's nothing. I've always told you guys, although we complain about balance and everyone complains about balance, in the grand scheme of things, League is actually a relatively balanced game, and it's where you can't take, like, for example, if you was like, oh, okay, his axe does 40 damage to 60 here, dude, he needs buffs. Draven's not good right now, whatever you think. Let's make his Q, let's double it. It would make him stupidly overpowered. Like, that's the thing. You've got to be really careful. It's the minute changes that makes the difference. So with Draven, he's an early game snowballing AD carry. You know, he's not good in absolute late game, and the game has actually moved on to more, I would say, absolute late game in my experience. So giving him a little bit more damage upon every single rank is big. It's bigger for the early game because that little 5 extra damage per axe. Think if Draven gets 4 or 5 auto attacks in an early game skirmish at level 2, 4 or 5 extra auto attacks is an extra, 25 damage roughly, and that's the difference of right now, or him not getting a kill and him now getting a kill. That's the difference, and that will help a Draven snowball. So that's the thing. It's not a bad buff at all. Galio. It kind of just, like, I will say, I don't think they fully know what they want to do with Galio, because at the beginning of the season, with kind of how strong the AP melee items were, he was a pure AP melee burst champion. They've kind of toned that obviously away, and they've buffed his tankiness and his team, based help and all that stuff again. It does seem that they don't exactly know what to do with him. So his movement speed is going up, and for a big, jumpy, I protect you kind of champion, that's good. And then his Q, which obviously is his bread and butter for farming, wave clear, etc., is getting an early game buff of a second, but it's leveling out at max rank of 7 seconds. I mean, that does help, but it does feel, because I actually played obviously a decent amount of Galio this year. I don't play him anymore because it does feel his damage is kind of gone. And I'm not saying it was a good thing that he was one-shotting people quite easily at the beginning of the season, but I think there was a middle ground, and I think they've completely missed the middle ground. I think they've taken him from being able to one-shot and do crazy damage to now kind of going, he's a tank and you don't do damage anymore. And in current League, if you're, pro play is different, and that's where this patch is different. Galio in mid lane for a pro team is vastly different for a Galio in mid in solo queue, because in solo queue, if you pick Galio in modern where his damage isn't very good, your whole solo queue team may not actually have enough damage. In pro play, if they draft a Galio mid, they will make sure that they've got a hyper carry or two in other roles to make up for the fact that they have a Galio that, yeah, can protect them, but then the hyper carries make up for the fact that Galio doesn't do a lot of damage anymore. Solo queue, that doesn't happen. Your teammates just pick whatever they're going to pick. So, yeah. Graves. Passive reload time, scaling adjusted, and critical strike ratio per pellet increased. Trying to get his crit bill back on, I guess. So the attack speed scaling is increased attack speed scaling from non-level sources towards reload time by 35%. So non-level sources, so not him just leveling up, items. So item attack speed will actually help him reload quicker, which is never a bad thing. And then, yeah, you can see here is we're giving much needed buffs. We're skewing him back, or basically towards crit itemization and repeat attacks. So 5% extra crit, again, may not seem like a lot, but crit is arguably the only fully based RNG thing left in League of Legends. They had dodge back in the day. Crit you need to be careful with when you're buffing it, because it never feels amazingly skillful or great to get killed by a lucky crit. So you've got to be careful with it, but it should itemize him back to crit-ish, where obviously he's been building lethality bruiser. So, yeah. Haway! Passive bonus magic damage increased. I'd actually be interested, and again, I'm not going to do every champion. What's Haway's stats right now? Okay, see, I would put Haway personally on the same kind of tier as Azir when it comes to being skillful. Shouldn't have a good overall win rate because the average player shouldn't be good at Haway, but it will excel in Apex tiers of solo queue or will excel in pro play. Hwei is sitting right now at a 49.25 win rate. That's actually not a bad win rate for what I would consider like an apex tier of champion. That's the point, is Azir's got a 47% win rate, but he's getting nerfed. That makes sense. He's getting buffed. So maybe they are trying to really push Hwei in pro play. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me massively in some ways. He's a relatively new champion. He's not obviously been on the big stage yet. You know, I don't think he made... He was out a few months ago, so he wasn't in last year's World. So this is the big first tournament that Hwei is enabled in. So maybe they are buffing him to kind of be like, hey, let's get some Hwei in MSI. So again, as you can see here, we're expected to have balanced Hwei around pro play with pretty low win rates for regular players. However, as the pro season has developed, it looks like we have more room than we initially thought. So they're just saying, hey, we've got a bit of extra room to buff him here. Pros aren't picking him up as much as we thought they would, but there we go. So the passive signature of the Visionary, so the bonus magic damage, depending on your level, is going up on ratio. So that is when I believe you hit 2 spells in succession of each other very quickly. It does an extra bit of damage kind of thing. A lot of Hweis I actually see don't utilize that as much as they should. I didn't the first couple times I played Hwei, I will also say. But yeah, that's fine. It's fine, I think, because they're really forcing him to go in MSI. Do I think he needs the buff? Probably not. Not really. But they're forcing him into pro play, so Hwei may be a really good solo pickup this solo queue patch. Jarvan, passive damage increase. So yeah, this has jumped around a lot as well. Like I swear at one time it was over 10%. So it's his big bonk that is a individual cooldown based on champion. So, you know, you could just kind of go around bonking all 5 champions and doing a big chunk of damage in one auto attack. So, yeah, it did 6% of target's current health. It's now doing 7. Doesn't seem major, but it does help him a little bit. Jarvan, as I said earlier, is quite a pro-centric jungler. Again, his win rate right now, believe it or not, is technically negative, but it's 49.94%. It is literally 0.06 of being neutral. 0.06 of being neutral. He's completely fine. Like he's literally completely and utterly fine. With actually a specific build, which is his most popular build. So it's probably people that are playing like Lethality Jarvan that are driving his win rate just under 50. With his proper Conqueror into, you know, Bruiser, Sundered Sky, and all that stuff, his win rate is actually 50.5%. So technically, in Riot's own things that they've said of when champions should get buffs and nerfs, he shouldn't get a buff. But it's pro play. And they're just trying to make him a better, well-rounded champion for the pro play combos and just making it feel nicer for the people that are going to have to play Jarvan. So, yeah. Probably, again, is not a bad solo queue jungler as well. Jhin. Bonus move speed on crits increased. Okay. And Q damage increased. So his bonus movement speed on critical strike is 10%. But then in brackets, 0.4 bonus attack speed. It's now 14% with the same ratio. So the more crit he has, the faster he moves, I guess. So that's going up a bit, which is nice. Or is it if you crit, then you get more movement speed? Maybe when you do a crit, you then get 14% movement speed. That's what I would guess. And then obviously all the attack speed that you're building that is kind of going to waste sometimes on certain items of Jhin, that's getting converted as well. The Q, so your kind of wave cleary, I guess, is going down at level 1, down at level 2, down at level 3, down at level 4, and down at level 5 on base. But where it's gaining is AD ratio. So it's 35% AD at level 1. It's going to 44. And it's finishing at 65. It's now 74. So that's actually a pretty nice change. It's a scaling change for Jhin, which will favor big AD and all that. But that's kind of what you want on Jhin anyway. Like, he's not supposed to be a lane phase beast. I'd want a late game absolute strength on Jhin anyway. So I think that's fine. Kai'Sa. Again, a champion that always has problems because of the W build, and people really like it because anyone can pull it off. And I do personally truly believe it is one of the easiest ways to climb in League history if when Kai'Sa's W build is strong, because anybody can do it. It is ridiculously easy. The struggle of it is lane phase and not to feed in lane phase, but if you make it to 2-3 items, yeah. So we wanted to buff Kai'Sa to encourage more AD carry diversity in solo queue and pro play without touching her AP builds. Yeah, they probably don't want them back, which can be problematic, I think. We wanted to increase the AD ratio on Kai'Sa Q to emphasize damage that required a higher commitment and played up her unique assassin-like characteristics. So she's getting a 5% extra bonus AD, and it's probably because she's kind of an okay champion, as I said. This is we've mentioned quite a few times, this is a pro-centric patch. So a pro can pull off Kai'Sa quite well. The average player may not be as good as it because it's the risk reward of when do I jump in. So many solo queue players get that wrong, which again is quite a funny thing to see, but it is what it is. So it is worth knowing. So again, in terms of her stats, she's 48% win rate, so it is the lower half, but I would also put Kai'Sa in a standard AD carry way, not the WAP build. She is on the harder half of AD carries to pull off. I would say, when she's actually an AD carry. Her standard build right now is a 48.4% win rate. There's a variation, which is a AD AP build, which is a 41% win rate. The pure AP build, like literally, Mirror Mana into Ludens and all that, is 54% win rate. And her actual, dare I say, where she's designed to actually be and what she's designed to do, her crit AD carry build of running lethal tempo and crit, so Kraken Slayer, Navori Quick Blades, Phantom Dancer, and Runins, etc., is at a 59, nearly 60% win rate. So maybe what they're trying to do is really force the hand of pros to go with that build and kind of emphasize to the community, hey, that's how you play Kai'Sa. Do the standard AD carry build again. Cool, go. So we might see that in MSI. LeBlanc. Obviously, they've been scared to do anything with LeBlanc because, obviously, of her AD builds that were knocking about. So I think they're always scared to buff this champion now. So LeBlanc is struggling in solo queue and also hasn't seen much in pro. She shouldn't be really in pro, if I would say. Like, she's a high risk, high reward, snowball needing mid laner. You don't see many champions like that played in pro play. Because if LeBlanc doesn't snowball, she's not that useful. And she's also not that useful in coordinated play. Of what LeBlanc's biggest strength is oh, the AD carry is chilling by themselves, I'm going to go assassinate them on the side lane. That doesn't happen in pro play. Like, it just doesn't happen. It happens in solo queue, and that's why LeBlanc is a solo queue champion. She ain't a pro play champion just because of how pro play is played. The only realistic two types of champions that are side laning in pro play properly are the top laners and occasional mid laners. And obviously, yeah, LeBlanc may be able to kill a mid laner, but that's only if she's done well early. A lot of mid laners will naturally outscale her anyway later into the game. So they're buffing her base damage, but that's it. So that's not a massive change. And her W cooldown is going down. That's a bigger change. 3 seconds in the early game on her W at rank 1. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's good for early trades. That's quite nice. So that will help what she needs to do, and what she needs to do is straight away from level 1 start going on people, Wing them, auto attacking them, get electrocute procs. Level 2, go for it again. Level 3, try to get a combo with ignite, get a kill. Like, that's what LeBlanc needs to try and do, so that will help. Mordekaiser, if they have done the change, by the way, it's mad. So I'm not going to scroll down yet, but if they have genuinely done the change that they were intending, ooh. So Q cooldown decreased, E damage decreased, and R is no longer escapable with certain items or abilities. Oh my god. Maud's going to be really strong. So Maud, I would say, is already good. I played a Maud game the other day. I don't know if it's being uploaded to YouTube. Let's just say I was the only person on my team doing well. I think I had something like 15 kills. Absolutely annihilated my lane opponent. Couldn't carry the game overall, but Maud was strong. Oh, so this is crazy. So they're buffing his Q. So his May Bonk ability is getting buffed in terms of cooldown. His E, the magic damage of it, is going down as compensation, I guess. But the craziest, Death Realm, or Realm of Death, can no longer be escaped by using Quicksilver Sash, the Scimitar, which is the upgraded version. So Alistair's Unbreakable Will. So if you get ulted at Alistair and then you ulted, you don't escape. Gangplank's W, so directly a top laner, who a lot of time people play Gangplank into Maud because of that interaction. Nope. Milio's ult, Olaf's Ragnarok, his ultimate, and Rengar's W when he's got full ferocity. But then, however, crowd control immunity will still prevent the application. So if you're immune to CC, you don't go in, which I presume what that means is, like, let's say the Olaf example, if you're currently in Ragnarok and Maud ults you, it won't work. What they're saying is, if Maud ults you, then as an Olaf you press R, you're stuck in the death realm. It doesn't make you escape. This is quite a big change. And again, especially for something like MSI, just to make it very clear, the fact that you now can no longer break out of this, what does that mean? It ultimately can mean if there's a Mordekaiser on one team, the other team can near enough always secure objectives. And if you're like, what? Think about it. So if you're playing jungle and it's a very intense game that's very close, and the Mordekaiser, you can tell his strategy is, right, I'm just going to ult the jungler, take him out of the dragon pit, or take him out of the baron pit. He can't smite it. You guys get a free smite. Easy peasy. So what that jungler a lot of the time used to do was, oh, okay, I'll buy QSS tax, Quicksilver Sash, I'll buy it, so then Maud can't ult me. You can't even do that anymore. So Mordekaiser can literally just keep someone in jail. And again, a modern build of Mordekaiser is actually go quite tanky, so they can't just turn around and kill the Mordekaiser. That's kind of mad. And again, also for team fights, an AD carry especially, everyone kind of complains about AD carry survival in League of Legends. Okay, buy a QSS, or get someone to help out with a Scimitar or Milio's ult or something. Doesn't work anymore. You are just stuck in the whole duration with Maud unless you kill the Maud. That's a really big change. Riot did also say, I can't remember who it was, they are thinking, and it might have been Freak, they are thinking about also doing this to Malzahar ult. Because to be honest, Malz, I will say, does suck in modern League. He really missed out on the Leandri's mythic change. Demonic is obviously gone. So Malz has really gone down in terms of how useful he is. So actually making Malz ult not cancelable, that might be something he needs. I would say Malz probably needs it a lot more than Mordekaiser does. Because, like, let's say Mordekaiser's stats right now. Okay. Oh my god, what? So Mordekaiser right now is an S+ champion, the highest tier. He has a 50.5% win rate overall. But with his best build, his win rate is 52.2%. That's a pretty damn good win rate. And they're buffing him in terms of his major trading ability in lane. Yes, they're nerfing this by 10, but it's not going to be a big deal because it's got passive damage and everything. But they're giving him this. Ooh, Mordekaiser might be the MSI champion. We'll see if that does happen. But yeah, wow. Okay. Olaf, Q bonus damage to monsters increased. Okay, so they're helping jungle Olaf. I still think it's not a very good pick in modern day. A week ago, roughly, I had an Olaf one-trick jungler. And obviously, you know, he must have some good games because he's gotten to, like, high diamond playing Olaf. But, oh, he seemed so useless. Like, that's the thing with Olaf. You know, he's a very basic old champion. And there are just games that he won't do anything. And it's that simple. And that sucks. But it's Olaf. Rise. W slow increased and cooldown decreased early. So the slow is going up by 15% to 50. That's nice. And then the cooldown of it is also going down. No? That's a pro play centric buff for Rise trading in lane phase. So look out for Rise. Definitely look out for your fakers playing MSI. Obviously, Rise is the faker champion. Okay. Skarner. I don't want to go into too much detail with Skarner. I do know, obviously, they missed the mark in terms of he's a jungler and then he got released and it's like, oh, wait, no, he's not. He's a top laner that you literally can't kill. So I presume a lot of these changes are going to be affecting mainly that. So if we just go through the rune and item recommendations are updated, the mana growth has been decreased. So especially this hurts top lane where you're trading a lot, but you're not getting the mana regen from jungling or blue buff or anything like that. So mana regen growth, so mana growth decreased, but the regen's been increased. Q damage increased, the mana cost decreased, buff duration increased for the Q, I guess, and upheaval recast lockout time decreased, shattered earth cast time decreased, and W mana cost mana cost being increased and damage decreased. We did obviously that Scala Challenger Spectate a while ago, and that's kind of what the big thing was they maxing W, and the big AoE was helping wave clear the damage on the enemy champion within the shield. You couldn't out trade him, and he just kept going. So that looks to be is what's kind of being affected. So there's that. Silas, why are you buffing Silas? Okay, so this is the buff that they're doing. Okay, I was actually like literally thinking that Riot has absolutely lost their minds, but it I guess now makes sense. So Q explosion damage to monsters increased. Silas is a very strong champion right now. So what they're doing, they're giving him more jungle scaling. So, you know, right now you probably just play him in mid. So for MSI, and I guess for solo queue, is that they're basically making him have a better jungle clear. I mean, I've played Silas jungle and his clear doesn't feel great. So maybe this isn't the worst thing in the world, but I mean, he's already a strong champion. So like right now, yeah, he's S tier and everything like that. Jungle, his stats aren't as good, nowhere near as good. So, but again, it's weird. His jungle stats are bad, but he's still a strong champion himself. A lot of his badness from the jungle also. And again, this is maybe why it's an actual okay buff, to be fair. Potentially is because of how bad his jungle clear is. And then he's so slow to every play. They're not very good. But yeah, that's interesting. So there's that. Thresh, base armor and magic resist regrowth increased, so making him tankier. That's never a bad thing. Obviously, I don't watch too much pro play. I will give you guys a small hint. I might be watching quite a lot of MSI for a reason. And you know, you guys might be watching as well. So I don't know if pro play is the same as solo queue, but solo queue seems to basically not prioritize actual supports anymore. Thresh, I do really like, but he's not an actual support. So he is an actual support. So like, will he be played, or will MSI just be plagued with Camille's, Poppies, and all those supports as well? I don't know. Zac support as well. So Zac base health regeneration increase. It's not enough. So Zac has been, I would literally, Zac, I don't like to use the word, but overpowered. Zac has been overpowered for ages. And again, where my mind goes to the use of the word overpowered is in terms of how strong they are, how healthy they feel to play with and against, but also how easy they are to pull off. Zac is an incredibly easy champion to play, and he's just ridiculous in terms of how tanky he can be, how much healing he can do, and actually how much damage output he has that doesn't make sense. This is not enough to tone it down, and for me, again, maybe they just want him to be in pro play. Maybe they want him to be an MSI, because, you know, right now, again, he's an S tier champion, 51% win rate in jungle. He's got over a 51% win rate in top lane. He's got over a 51% win rate in support. He's crazy. He's really good, especially for how easy he is to play. So I'm surprised the nerf isn't bigger, but maybe Riot want him in MSI, and then we'll see an actual nerf later. But they have ignored this champion for a very long time, by the way. He's been crazy strong. Basically, since they did the W change, that gave him a lot of more damage in his W than he should have. That's what made him a bit more than he should be. Because if he's tanky and heals a lot, okay, that's annoying. But it's the fact that he then kills you as well. It's like, what the hell? It doesn't make sense. And then Zeri, a champion that they will never get right, ever. Again, one of the worst design champions in League in terms of health. And I think August probably will admit this. Maybe not on a live stream where people can use it against him. August says that Gnar is his worst ever design champion. I think it's probably Zeri. Zeri has got way more problems than Gnar. She's never in a state of balance. She either always has to be buffed or nerfed because they cannot hit her right. And it's similar to like an Azir problem, but on a bigger scale, because Zeri is not as hard to play as Azir. Like, she's not easy, but she's also not that hard. So when she's got average strength with her kit and how much mobility she has, she's crazy. If obviously she's strong, she's crazy OP. If she's average, she's still amazing. And then what Riot ends up doing is nerfing her to the ground, and then no one can play her because of how weak she is. It's just not healthy. It's not a healthy design champion, and that's the problem. System changes to Baron at Nashor. So Baron got a big visual overhaul earlier this year, but his damage has not been quite as scary as his new appearance. So due to this, we're buffing Baron's attacks to make them more apparent while ensuring they don't deal too much damage. This should encourage players to more frequently reposition around Baron's abilities. So yeah, they're basically just making it, you know, the stuff that Baron casts, don't ignore them, in essence. So I'm okay with that. So in essence, you know, the number one World of Warcraft rule is don't stand in fire. It should apply here, you know, to a boss kind of thing. Is there's a thing on the floor, don't stand in it. And most of what you can see here is the acid pool is doing way more damage. Yeah, don't stand in it. The slow is going up. Well, yeah, don't stand in the pool. The pull damage of his cone that he's pulling people, don't get caught in that. So the lightning magic damage. So all of this practically, the tentacle knock up, you see when it's happening, and if you stand in the dark areas, it knocks you up. All of this can be avoided if you just play properly, if you move, etc. Obviously, where this will be kind of interesting is when it's a big fight around Baron that you have to focus on the enemy team, and then Baron casts an ability. That's where it becomes a little bit hectic, and I'm cool with that. I think that's nice. Baron should be a threat, you know. Void Grubbies. So Void Grubs, they are changing. And I'm actually okay with this, by the way, because it always feels you finish your jungle clear, you may do one gank, it's Void Grubs, and half the time you can't even base and buy your first item before that point, and it's like, eh. So they're changing the initial spawn time of 5 minutes to 6 minutes, which should give every single jungler enough time to do a full jungle clear, at least one jungle gank, maybe even another camp or two, and then go over there and, you know, in that time base buy an item. That I think is healthier. Touch of the Void damage per stack. So it used to be 6 Touch of the Void damage per stack, and then half for ranged champions. True damage per second over 4 seconds. It's now it's better. So it's now 8 Touch of the Void damage, and it's been, you know, 4 for ranged champions. So it's basically making them a bit more, you know, well, it's making it stronger. And then the hunger of the Void threshold. So if you got 5 of the grubbies, you then get those little minion grubs that spawn and help. And then if you get 6, you get double the amount. They're changing it, which is now 4. And that's quite interesting. That changes the dynamic, because a lot of the time the losing team, they won't try to get 5 or 6, obviously. They will just try to get 2, and they'll just go, right, I've got my 2. The enemy team cannot get 5, so it's not that important. It is now, because the damage of them is doing more, so that's still scary, even if they only get 4. But still, if they get 4, they will be sporting the Void Grubs, so they will be pretty good. I like that change. It does make them more valuable. So again, this is where, let's say, even supports. Some supports roam over for them, some don't. I typically don't, because I like playing bot lane, but this change will arguably make it more needed that supports especially and mid laners and top laners all pay attention to the Void Grubs. So that's what I'd say. Mythic shop rotation is changing. Unfortunately, I'm looking for that Shaco skin, but it's not to be, apparently. ARAM changes, I never care. Quick play, again, the quick play, I'm only hearing bad things about quick play. Bug fixes, I've always said, if you see a champion in a bug fix, probably look into it and see what it is. And then upcoming skins. So there we go. As for a pro play patch, there's obviously some weird things that, like, you know, buffing certain champions that probably don't need it and stuff like that, but it's not the worst we've ever had. The only surprise I would say is that, you know, for a pro play patch, we're not getting a Lee Sin buff. Normally Lee Sin gets buffed on pro patches, but he's actually in an okay position at the moment, so you might see some Lee in MSI. But anyway, that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me covering, obviously, the patch notes. I really enjoy covering the patch notes, and I do it for 2 reasons. One, so I read the patch notes, because otherwise I might not. And secondly, a lot of you don't read the patch notes, but at least you can chill out with me and listen to the patch notes and take them on board. Because again, a lot of you wouldn't read them if I didn't make these videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the changes down below. But if you did enjoy, throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.